Thank you, Neera, for your strong leadership of CAP, which so ably promotes our progressive priorities. Good morning, everyone. I'm Susan Rice, and you may have seen a parody of me on certain cable news channels. Since I left the White House, I've become deeply concerned that the United States is squandering one of our greatest strategic assets, America's leadership of the world. I'm here to argue for a better strategy, a progressive strategy that will renew our global leadership. It seems that the current administration looks at the world and sees only threats: immigrants, refugees, Muslims, Mexicans, even trade. It's America first and the rest of the world last. I fully recognize that we face serious threats. I spent 8 years actually reading the Presidential Daily Briefing, and the last 3.5 years personally briefing President Obama. But the world I see is also filled with profound opportunities. Our relationships are not zero-sum. They should be mutually beneficial. Through enlightened self-interest, we can expand opportunity, not hoard it for the few. I believe that a responsible national security strategy must be balanced, confronting threats while seizing opportunities. It's a strategy based on 4 pillars: a strong defense, skillful diplomacy, smart development, and domestic strength. First, our national security begins with a strong defense. The United States must remain the world's preeminent military power. That requires sustaining a force that's smartly funded, wisely deployed, and ready to deal with a threat, any threat, at a moment's notice. Conflict is not inevitable, and bluster is for bullies. But our adversaries, from Russia to North Korea, must know that we will confront them with unity, resolve, and with every tool at our disposal. When we employ military force, we must use it judiciously, because we've learned from Vietnam to Iraq that even the finest fighting force on earth cannot defeat the underlying political, economic, and sectarian forces that fuel conflict. So instead of simply vowing to bomb the bleep out of ISIL, we must use our full arsenal, including cutting off its finances, discrediting extremism online, and helping stabilize fragile states. We must confront terrorists globally, from Syria and Afghanistan to northern Mali and the southern Philippines, where Al-Qaeda 3.0 may be germinating. We can't allow Twitter wars to become shooting wars. So instead of vacillating between reckless saber rattling and dubbing Kim Jong-un a smart cookie, we should steadily apply increased pressure on North Korea while protecting our allies and our homeland. And instead of excusing Russia's outrageous behavior and branding NATO obsolete, we must defend every NATO ally unconditionally and firmly counter Russia's Cold War tactics. Even as we address today's crises, we must get ahead of emerging threats that will endanger us tomorrow, from rising oceans to the dark web, from conflict in outer space to the manipulation of artificial intelligence. Second, an effective foreign policy requires skillful diplomacy. We should embrace the mantle of global leadership because the United States remains the world's best hope. But we need to be a steady, trusted partner so that, as Charles de Gaulle said, the word of the United States President is good enough for me. From North America to Europe, from Israel to Asia, Our allies and friends must know we stand with them, not based on a business transaction, but because we are bound by shared values and shared interests. And let's stop pretending that our interests and our values conflict. Yes, sometimes we must work with unsavory regimes, but our values and our interests converge. Democracies that respect human rights are our most reliable partners. Visit Arlington Cemetery or Allied burial grounds around the world. Our soldiers didn't fight as part of some global protection racket. They died for the rights of all people to live in freedom, dignity, and equality. These are our values. These are universal values, and they are not expendable when inconvenient. To tackle challenges that transcend borders, we must cooperate across borders. As a former UN ambassador, I know well the frustrations of multilateral diplomacy. But international institutions and collective action make us more effective. We should reject the deconstruction of the administrative state and update the post-war international architecture that the United States built, because it remains the right framework for promoting peace and prosperity around the world. The fact is, we cannot bomb climate change or even violent extremism into submission. Pandemic flu and Zika won't stop at the Rio Grande. Cyber thieves and criminal cartels don't respect national boundaries. In today's interconnected world, we need collective action to achieve lasting security. We also need a well-functioning State Department. Diplomacy isn't optional, but it's comparatively cheap. As Secretary of Defense Mattis put it, if you don't fully fund the State Department, then I need to buy more ammunition. For America to remain the unrivaled global leader, we must value and fully fund the talented career professionals who do the delicate work of diplomacy. Third, our diplomacy needs to be backed by an equal dedication to smart development. Helping other peoples is neither charity nor wasteful spending. It's one of the wisest investments we can make in our security and prosperity. From Afghanistan to Nigeria, we've seen poverty, conflict, and corruption stifle opportunity and extremism take root. But when USAID helps a farmer increase her yields in Ethiopia, supports micro-enterprise in Haiti, or electrifies a village in Kenya so that kids can study at night, that's good not just for them, it's good for America's security. When we combat malaria, AIDS, and Ebola, investing in global health infrastructure, that's good for our security. When we educate and empower women and girls, that's good for our security too. So yes, we still need to let girls learn. Finally, an effective foreign policy must be grounded in domestic strength. To lead the world and protect our people, we can't rely solely on military might. We must continue to prosper by growing our economy, creating jobs, raising wages, reducing inequality, and lifting Americans out of poverty. We must pursue trade that is fair and free, and not cede the Asia-Pacific, the world's fastest growing region, to China. We need to catalyze American entrepreneurship and remain the global leader in R&D and higher education. These advantages don't just make us competitive. They, too, make us safer and stronger. Ultimately, of course, the greatest source of American strength is our people. The extraordinary skill, spirit, diversity, and audacity of Americans. Our founding ideals, including the inherent equality of every human being. Our commitment to free speech and a free press. Our welcoming of immigrants from every corner and calling them simply Americans. Make no mistake, the world watches very closely what we do and say. So we must ask, what message are we sending now? Because at this moment, our single greatest weakness as a people, as a country, and as a global leader is our profound political polarization. It hasn't always been like this. I grew up in this city, and I'm old enough to remember when loyalties and even major legislation crossed party lines, when civility was the norm and politics mostly ended at the water's edge. That seems like lifetimes ago, but it wasn't. We need to shake off this national funk and remember that first and foremost, we are all Americans. We must honor our Constitution, our founding values, and each other. Surely, we will often disagree. But we sure as hell need to agree that a hostile foreign power has no business messing with our elections. Because here's the truth. If we cannot find our way to put country over party, democracy over demagoguery, even in the face of such a dangerous external threat, then we might as well hang up our leadership cleats and resign ourselves to becoming a second-rate power. That should not be our future. We are so much better than that. At our best, we are still the bright beacon to the world of hope, creativity, justice, and opportunity. When Americans of every race, religion, and class stand together for the rights of all, for women as well as men, for our immigrant heritage, for LGBT citizens, for the belief that we are all equally God's children. When we recall that we all love this country deeply, when we remember what America truly means, then and only then will we be strong at home and a still stronger leader in this complex world. The choice is ours. We can either squander our greatness or build a common future based on respect for the dignity and value of every American and all mankind. Together, let's ensure we make the right choice. Thank you.